yeah. So first and foremost, are there any questions from anyone? Okay. So the video from last time that I created for Monday appears here, beginning of week 3. I wanted to do it that way too, so you could see it of ways that you can record it. How important recording and screen recording has become so much that it's built into most of our computers actually to automatically be able to do so. Um, so this really is the future. And before even before COVID happened, where people are doing this more frequently, people were already doing it. Look at most of the YouTubers; they would stream games or playing of games, and they would be doing that on a computer. And so Windows made a way for them to do so automatically, and then to automatically upload their streams through to Xbox as well. Or if they wanted to connect to their Xbox, they could stream there. And the streaming could be just a recording, a screen recording, or it could actually be a live stream as well if you want to set it up and have a link. So that's already automatically available. I told many of you that you could, or I said it so in the video, that you could press the Windows key and G if you have a Windows computer, and it'll pop up. Do know though, if you do so, probably should have made a disclaimer before I said that, because many of you probably have already done it now. That if you do so, it may pop up forever. You can go. There are settings you can set so that it doesn't do that, but it'll pop up every time you open up a new application and stuff like that, because it's expecting you to, begin recording. So you can change the settings on that though, so you don't have that issue if that bugs you. But yeah, that's how I made that video. And like I said, I wanted to do that so you all could see that, hey, here's a way I can do this on my own, because that'll actually help with um, the e-portfolio, and may help you with your other classes as well. So as I mentioned in the video, this week is more so about you researching your career and understanding what technology you will need to know about or know of or be using in your future career. And I also mentioned how technology is not just electronic devices or some kind of cool machinery. Technology is a tool or um, or skills that are used um, to fulfill a purpose. So the example I gave was like the pencil. And the reason I mentioned that was because I don't want you to go through and like, oh, my job doesn't have anything to do with computers, which honestly would probably be very false. False. Like, I can personally not think of a single job that does not involve computers. Even if you're a farmer, you have computers. You actually probably are programming too, because you're probably programming it to go in and plow at certain points, and how to plow, and where to plant seed and things like that. There's actually a ton of stuff you can do as a farmer. Like most farmers they could work at NASA or like NSA, and I'm actually not even joking. There's actually a couple of them that do so as contract workers, because they have to do so much on their own anyway. So they've learned a lot. I'm getting a little too far out there, but every single job has something to do with a computer. But I am looking for technology, period. Uh, and then the advances to that, so that there's a difference between saying that, between a pencil and like using a word processor software on a computer, right? One allows you to do things electronically, and you can save and make multiple copies of it much easier than you could with a pencil, right? So that is an advance in technology, but both are still technology. So I went over that in the slide, and I gave 2 case studies as well of examples I did that to show the importance of staying current with technology and with changes that are occurring as well. Um, the reason for that is because these are real life examples. These actually happen to people. Um, and I've mentioned before how I kind of came into my current career, and my other careers. It was all because I stayed current uh, with programming, specifically Python at that time, because that was the language I did in college. My first language in college. I programmed in other languages in college as well. When I left there to teach, I would play around with it in a professional setting, just as a part of a club at school, or with students that were making 8-bit games and some other things like that. at the high school I was teaching at. And so that's where I was able to keep up with it, and then on my own, just because I enjoyed it. And then that led me to opportunity to getting into software development just from a phone call. I know of other people that have had opportunities from doing certain sites like HackerRank and things like that in the same way. So it is important to stay current. Now, one of these case studies, and you guys can probably remember from the video, but one of these case studies, the guy just kind of he stayed current. He wasn't even into technology, so to speak. Or into any technological advances at that time in which he was working. But he just stayed up with the times as things became available. He would, take time to learn about it, and he would continue to move forward. And he wanted to give that same opportunity to his other employees when he ended up running the company that he worked for, or owning the company that he worked for, I should say. The other one, this guy stayed current all the time, but he was playing catch up a lot of time while he was doing so. So he would realize like, oh, this thing is going to be big. I need to play catch up. Then he would lose his job because it would get outsourced because there's easier way, cheaper way for it to get done with less manpower. So he would lose his job and he would just move on to the next thing and like, oh, I can learn more stuff here. But you'll notice he never had a bachelor's or a master's degree either. So the other guy, he did. He had a bachelor's degree. So that's something else to think about too when you're doing this. Notice he had a bachelor's degree, but it was not in computer science or CIS or anything like that. But it was in business, and as I said, CIS and it's for business. That's the whole purpose of it. People don't just sit around playing with it and make money somehow. No, it's always a business part of it. So anyway, let's see. So next up was mainly just looking at PowerPoint and how to do your e-portfolio. So I got some tutorial stuff with using PowerPoint that's there and available, but I'm gonna go over some things myself with you all. So I'm gonna start off by looking at the actual assignment because this is where most of the questions came in from Monday. And again, if you have a question, post in the chat, unmute yourself and speak up because I want to make sure this is very, very clear because this is your initial e-portfolio, meaning as you begin, because at the end of the semester, you will turn in a final portfolio. And I expect week after week for you to add to your portfolio. And the reason I say I expect that is because it makes it easier on yourself. If I need to, I'll add an extra assignments each week to make sure you are doing so, or have you turn it in with your assignment. And it's not like as a punishment; it would be to help you do so because it will make your life easier. So you're not scrambling at the last minute to recall what you did over the last at that point 12 weeks or 13 weeks, or actually maybe even 14 weeks, in order to say, okay, here's my portfolio. So recall that a e-portfolio, the purpose of portfolio period, is to reflect on what you have learned and how it will be useful to you in the future or currently even how it's useful to you. And you can even talk about things and how they weren't useful to you. So if you were going to do it as a professional manner or to like attach to a resume, you of course would not probably talk about all the things that you did that you felt that you didn't that you felt were a waste of time in school. You probably wouldn't mention those things, but you could just of course make a new copy and then delete those pieces of information. Second part of this is this helps me, with the course as we continue to move forward and make changes to it because we want this to be the best that it can be to help everyone. So it is generally just a reflection of what you have done and accomplished, and you can show proof of it. That's the whole point of it. So you can have proof, like, hey, here's what I did. So that is a portfolio. The E is electronic, meaning it's going to be electronic. I mentioned at the first week of school that we're going to do it as a PowerPoint. You could use something else. You could create a website, and I showed you guys how you could go to Google Sites and start from there if you wanted to. It's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions about more things about how to do that, let me know, and I'd be willing to show you how. So you have a free site to yourself. I suggest not using your Maricopa account because then it will still belong to you the entire way. If you use your Maricopa account, once you are no longer in Maricopa, you won't be able to necessarily have access to it anymore. So if you create your own Gmail account and do that, you can do that as well. But again, I'll let you know that. So that is your assignment. That's what the general idea of it is for you to reflect on it. Now, the beginning of it, though, is for you to share your potential career path that aligns with you. It could be, your personality, it could be with the skills that you've already acquired or that you are like super interested in learning in. And the whole point of it is just so that you get an understanding of what it is that I really need to know for this career. Some people will assume like, oh, I want to be a game designer, and then they'll say they need a master's degree in computer science or something. Sure, would that help? Yeah, you probably know a lot more than everyone else. You've had a lot more skill and a lot more practice, but I guarantee there's people that probably have master's level knowledge that only just have an associate's degree or a high school diploma that will be working at your same job. Will you get paid more? Maybe not. A bachelor's degree? Maybe. Associates at least? Yes. You would get paid more than a high school student. I'm not gonna say you wouldn't get paid more with a master's, but it's not necessary. I had a friend when I was in college, when I was TAing for a Python class. One of my closest friends, he was graduating, and he did an internship during his bachelor's at EA Games, or which I'm sure many of you have heard of. He Same thing. I want to be a game designer, so he did that. He did an internship, and they told him that they would hire him. It is just in the game, yes. EA Sports in the game. Yeah, so he did his internship and loved it. They were like ready to hire him when he graduated. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back and get my master's though." They're like, "You already know everything you need. You said this is your dream job." He's like, "Yeah, I know. I would like to continue to maybe do this kind of as an internship, but I'm gonna go get my master's degree." And his whole purpose was to make more money out of it, which makes complete sense. It does. So he did that, got his master's degree. So had to pay more money to get his master's degree. But he got his master's degree, and then they offered him the same start salary. He was very angry, and they said, "Well, the skills that you have, you already had. You didn't need anything new. So there's nothing new that you can offer us at your point in time. So the only way you get a higher increase if you had more experience." So he would have technically made more money at that point if he had just stuck with the bachelor's. That is not always the case. That's why you want to do research about what is it you want to go into. So that's just the example. Then you go to the other side of it. I would make more money if I had a higher degree. Starting off, I would have automatically. And then even potentially the end result, I would have made, like whenever I finish, I would make more if I had come into this with a higher degree. So, it does go both ways. So you just got to do your research so you can know. And that will also it will definitely help you all decide, is this really what I want to do? Maybe I want to switch. So if you're not sure what you want to, what your career is, we have a Young's test. There's other resources we have as well. If you've taken strengths from another course, Clinton Strengths, if you somehow work on this campus as well, you've probably already done this. It was for a long time free to students to do. I believe it still is. Just a matter of asking the president. The president was very strengths. It is very strengths focused. So every employee on campus knows their top 5 strengths. Some may know their 10 and 30, up to 35, may know the whole list. And what it is just like, it's a way to, the idea behind it is to focus on what you're strong at. And for instance, my strengths are like restorative. So I try to fix things by looking at the problem and put it back. I also am strategic. So I'm looking at every angle. I'm deliberative, and so I expect the worst to happen. It's not pessimistic. It's planning for that. So it's not being pessimistic. It's just deliberately planning for it. I'm also a developer, so I like to help people get to improve. So those are some of my strengths, and so they are reflected. I'm The purpose behind it is to reflect on those and to anytime you do things, to look at your strengths and then focus on how can I use my strengths in this area to help people, help others. And I missed one. Individualization. So I like to talk with individuals and help individuals, which makes sense with everything else there. I focus on one individual and help develop them strategically, and may look for worst case scenarios so that you can try to plan for that and try to help them understand. You should plan for the worst case. Not saying it's going to happen. Don't think it's going to happen. Very sure it's not, but it's nice to think about. So those type of things. But I look at that, and it's funny. So some my careers that it pops up are as a scientist, a computer scientist, and a programmer, developer. So there's where some of the things that came up as my potential jobs. An educator was not on there on that list, but I am doing that in that same field, and I really do feel my strengths really do shine in this area. So. Um, So I would probably talk about some of those things if I did my e-portfolio, that's what I would do. I would talk about my strengths and how that led to me in this career, or how it further solidified this career. Any personal information, maybe, if you want to. So you can think about how you did your technological, or sorry, tell us about your technological experiences. When you did that discussion, most of you introduced yourself. Uh, but all of you at least talked about your experiences with technology to begin with. That stuff can be included here. And these, notice it says considerations. So these are things you should consider possibly putting in it, not things that you have to put in it. Describe what your career is. Some people say, "Oh, I'm going to be a nurse," or they may say an SLP, or we'll be like, "What's an SLP? Tell us what that is." Um, or, "Oh, it's a speech language pathologist." Okay, well, what is that? What do you do with that? You could think, "Oh, we talk about helping people, with lisp, or speech impediments, or speech issues." Like, that's not all they do. um, and actually, you probably won't make as much if it's all you think that you're going to do, especially if you focus on that one part of it. 'Cause they do a lot of stuff. They do a lot of things with throats, um, helping people with swallowing, uh, and working the muscles in that area as well, with how they eat. Like, they do a lot. It's a lot of going on what happens with the mouth and the throat. So that everything that is a part of speaking, every part of it, that's what they work on. So not just speaking. So, which I'm going a little off, but just giving you an example of how we think these things about these jobs based off of just a name or what the world tells us, but it's not always the case. So work trends for the career. Do you see projected growth in it? Like, if you see your career is on a decline, that may make you think, is this really what I want to do? Well, if I was doing it for money, then it's probably not gonna work out better, for the best. But if I was doing it because I was interested, maybe I'll still go for this. What is your salary gonna look like? You do research on that, because you may decide that, oh, that's not as much money as I thought it was gonna be, or it might not be enough for me. Skill sets required. What is it that you need to learn in school? Do you need to have an associate's degree, just a high school diploma, bachelor's, master's? Do you need to have a PhD or some kind of 6-year degree? What do you need? Maybe what classes that you need to take, because maybe you'll need to take more classes than you think. A good example of that is when students go to medical school. There are a lot of courses they need to take beforehand. You can get a degree in anything you want and go to medical school. You don't have to get a degree in biomedical engineering or biology or chemistry or anything like that. It is highly suggested many times. The reason is because you're already, looking at things that you will look at as you move forward in your career. But it's definitely not necessary. One of my closest friends in college, she was so smart, and this is actually where I learned this from. She wanted to be a doctor, and she always had this plan. Her dad was as well, and he's the one that told her about, you don't have to get a degree in everything. And so she got her degree in the smallest number of credits that was available at the school that was of interest to her. She got her degree in business. So she had to take about 12 extra credits after that, just to meet the prereqs for medical school. And everyone was telling, "Oh, we're all going to medical school too. We're doing this degree, and this one, and this one, this one." And so many of them struggled through like biomedical engineering and biology and all this different things. And here she was. She got her business degree. She graduated early, Her GPA was super high, and she did great. And she was the first one to complete. She graduated a semester early, but she also didn't have to go do any extra work. She didn't do any extra studying for the MCATs or anything because she had extra time just because of what she chose for her degree. Business is not always easy for everyone, so she did that. She got done super quick. And yeah, she was the first one to become a doctor, and then she ended up having her own practice because of it, because she knew how to run a business. So she had her own little clinic that she started up afterwards, as well. So yeah, so just just different things to think about. Know what the real requirements are, not just what people say. Oh, this is the recommended, so you need to do it. Yeah, and then the coup de grace. What common technology requirements and uses are there? Right, 'cause that's what the whole point of this class is, for you guys to get a survey. So look at you have a general look of computer information systems. So what is it that you're going to be using in that job? All the technologies. Um, as I said, not just electronics and machines, but any tools that you'll be using. And then you may even want to look at what advances are there going to be. In the video that I gave to you guys on Monday, I mentioned how there's these little devices that they prick your finger, and then they take a little blood there, and it does the scan, and then it wirelessly sends information to a machine for the doctor. So it's taking certain metrics, and then the doctor can make conclusions from that. But as opposed to in the past where they would have to um, take some blood, which they took a couple of them because they have to do a couple of tests, do it a couple of times because there's possibilities of false positives or false negatives. False positive meaning that it says that the test shows a positive result when it really is negative. False negative just shows a negative result when it's really positive. And if you're, that can be detrimental to you. I give you an example just with doctors. I've been doing some my own homework for my own classes and having it with CIS. And one of the things was when it comes to medicine, most of the time they are more likely to give false positives when it comes to testing, especially for like diseases and stuff. And there's a reason for that. It's for safety. Because, for instance, the last project I did was looking at AIDS patients, and there are HR testing for HIV. There are a large number of false positives, but that's because it was such a high risk thing that they rather have false positives than say than false negatives, and that there is an offset there. So more people were told that they had HIV when they didn't have it at all. Then it was just precautionary. It was because these signs tend to be more towards this, so we're going to tell you that you have it. So that way we can just be safe, just in case you don't, and then we'll continue to test later, more tests later. So anyway, building off again, but that's something that they use now. Even with that research in the medical office, they had to take data, and then they had to run some tests on data to come up with that conclusion, like to say, okay, how are we going to know if someone comes to the office and they have these things, if we can say they have HIV or not? And we'll look at some things. We'll talk about how that was done with the database and with Excel later on in this class. Really cool, actually. I may show you guys some more stuff too, because I'm currently doing a lot of that on the side. So yeah, and then how the past assignments align to your career goals, and that's probably the other big one. So with your presentation, it needs to be school appropriate. I think that goes without saying. Um, yeah, so slides. I have seen someone successfully do a presentation with 2 slides before. The title slide and the content was there, and that was it. They did their whole speech and everything, and it worked out perfectly fine. It was great. And then when other people saw it and found out about it, when they tried to do theirs, they tried to follow it, and I'm like, oh, that was cool. I'm gonna do that too, and it didn't work out too well. So, and, it all just depends on the person and what you have, and your confidence and the knowledge in what you're presenting. Just using the appropriate amount of slides that you need to get whatever information you need out. At least one theme, and we'll talk about what a theme is, and styles for slides. At least one image. We'll talk about add an image today. A slide transition and an animation. We'll talk about all of those. The notes section, accurate spelling and grammar, and then citations, which we saw last week how to do so in Microsoft Word. And of course, I told you if you really wanted to, you could go online and look for some way to cite that way. But yeah, and then I said your presentation under 10 minutes. That's for the best. If it goes over, I'm not gonna complain. That's just best practice. You don't want to bore someone to death, even if it's really interesting. Timing can still it's like after 20 minutes, people start losing interest. So like about right now, it's been about 20 minutes since we started class. Some of you might be losing interest already and doing other things. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'll keep you here. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna download this template here. So here's an example of a template to kind of get started. Do you have to use this? No, you don't. But I'm gonna use this so that way you can just see where I'm coming from, and with it, this will help you follow along with what the requirements are. So if I were to open this up now, so anytime you download anything from Word, and I mentioned this when we did it with the Word before, but anytime you download anything that's a Microsoft, that opens in a Microsoft Office application that comes from the internet, you will get this warning at the top, protected view. You must enable editing in order to continue. If it comes from me, then cool. If it comes from someone that you don't know, I would never enable editing. Just delete the file directly. Because once you enable editing, it could unleash the hounds if there's anything on it. It's been a long time since that virus actually happened, but it's kind of funny in my mind because it was just on a Microsoft Word, and someone programmed it that way. It was kind of cool, but it's really messed up what it did. So, all right, here we go. CIS105. Notice how plain this is, right? It's all white. Yeah, this looks very plain. I mean, you could rock a plain PowerPoint presentation, but yeah, there's other things we could do to spruce it up, right? But let's just look at it for right now. So CIS105, look at you got your title. You put your first name, last name, right? We can even change the date and stuff down here. Notice down here at the bottom, I'm gonna bring it up a little bit. Many of you may not even know that exists there. We have notes here. It says choose an appropriate, professional, relevant, readable theme. Use readability as a top priority, meaning it should be able to be read. High contrast font against the background. If you have black on white, what is it? Blue and yellow, so like opposite colors on the spectrum, so that things kind of stand, not kind of, but things do stand out more, easier to read that way. And edit slide master for correct name and date in the footer. So like, yeah, you can make your changes to these. This section here, that's how you bring up notes. The bottom of any Office application is going to be called your status bar. In this case, in PowerPoint, it tells us the slides that we have, which one we're currently on. You also have a way to do spelling grammar check right here by just clicking this. Notes will open up this notes pane where you can edit notes in and type notes. I mentioned in the guidelines that you need to have notes on each slide. These will, when you go to present, you will see presenter mode, and what that allows you to do is it allows you when you're presenting to see, hey, this is what I can talk about, right? If you have notes there, you can give yourself kind of like little what do we call those? Like little bullet points. I can't really think of the actual term for them, but bullet points so you can know, oh, I'm supposed to talk about this now. Oh, I'm supposed to talk about this now, without like writing out a speech. I have seen people use it as pretty much a teleprompter, so they are literally reading it off, but they do so very well. So if you're one of those people, go for it. Comments. You can add comments to it as well, to your presentation. You won't see these, but some people do this so that, especially if they're collaborating with others, they can put comments on a slide and say, hey, on slide 1, make sure you all add your names because I don't know how to spell your last name. We have different views. We have normal view, which is where I would stay in if I were you, but people do different things. Slide sorter. You kind of see all your slides at once, and that way you can drag them and put them in order you would like. You can do that same thing on normal view though by just grabbing it and moving it wherever you would like. We have reading view. So it becomes kind of like a book, but very similar to what you all saw when I did the cyber ethics Google slide. You were kind of just reading through it. You would click the next arrow and things like that. That's what it is. We even get a little menu here so that we can do the normal stuff we would do within PowerPoint. And then the last view is presenter view. So I am in presenter mode here. One thing you don't know, because you can't see it on your screen, you see the PowerPoint presentation, but what you do not see is on my other screen, because I have two screens. I have the presenter view that I can see my slides, and I can see a timer, so I can see how long I'm taking. I see the current time on there and a couple of other things as well. So I'm going to swap it so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So when you're in presenter mode, presenter view, this is what you see on your side. So one thing, if you're ever presenting on a board, when you're getting, or sorry, in a classroom or setting where it's going on a projector, what you want to do before anyone actually comes in or anything, you want to see which screen is actually going to the projector, because you may need to swap it. And the way that I swap it is right here in display settings. Swap it here. But here's the notes that I would type in the notes section. They appear here, and so I could read this off while I'm going through or look at bullet points. I also see what's coming up next. Now it says next slide, but really that's whatever's coming up next, because we'll have transitions, we'll have animations. I can see what is the next thing that's going to appear on the screen for people from here, which is really cool and really powerful, because in that way, sometimes people are going through and they forget that they have animations and certain transitions coming up, so they forget when to click. This will help you with that. Other things you can do, pin and laser point, if I can get it going. It's like, welcome to CIS105, everyone. That's what it will look like on the other screen as well. And then I can do this so I can see all the slides at once, and this way I could pick between them as I go through. Say if I was in a presentation, I realized I need to cut it short, this is one way to do so. You can zoom in. Guys, we really need to talk about intellectual property rights. And then this is the duplicate, yeah. So black or unblack the slideshow. So like if I need to pause in between, a lot of times people do this when they're doing like, all right, we're gonna have a small little intermission so you guys can do a little breakout and discuss what we talked about so far. And then that's pretty much it. Everything else is just like some basic setting changes. This is cool too. If you're while you're presenting, you want to show the taskbar. Let me so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Oh, it's because I have my dual screens, but pretty much the taskbar would appear at the bottom here, where you have your start menu and stuff. Why is that helpful? Sometimes when you're presenting, you need to switch. And what most of the time people do is they in slideshow, then they go open the other app. Why? You don't have to. You can do show taskbar, and then you can go and select, from there. Like, oh, I'm gonna open up. I already had this other application open. I already had the Excel file that shows the data for what I'm explaining open. So I'm gonna show taskbar and go click it, and then that way it'll just pop up above what you have projecting on the screen already. And so that's very, very helpful, because then once you're done with that, you can just click back and you're already in presenter mode. You don't have to do this. This is what most people do. And they go, okay, let's look at the Excel file, da, 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 da. And then they like come back to PowerPoint and they're like, oh, all right, let's make it go again. Oh man, I clicked the wrong one. Hold on a second, we'll get through this quick. Okay, now we're back to where we were. So, or you can start it from the same slide, but most people make the mistake of just starting from the beginning. But yeah, so that's how you would, in Slideshow for real now, but that is how you could use presenter mode. And that's the slideshow view. So we went through all the slideshow views. Of course, you guys know you can change the zoom using the zoom slider. And yeah, so I'm gonna close out the comments pane here because I don't need that. But what you will notice here is that template is a good starting point because title's already there. You guys can change that. Tell me what your future career is. You can do it all in one slide if you want. You can add more than that. To add more slides, on the home tab in the slides group, you just click new slide. When you do so though, you also can pick what type of slide it is going to be. You can also change the layout of whatever slide you're on. And you can break it off into sections too. So you also can do that from insert in the slides group. You can insert from there. Okay. Ooh, is that gonna be? I thought I saw it. There it is. Yeah. I don't like using that. All right, sorry. I got distracted by it. I saw something new appear in my PowerPoint. So I was like, ooh, what does this do now? So yeah, you can add your career here and then add more slides if you need to, like you want to split it up. You probably don't want to have too much on one slide because that also gets kind of distracting. I've seen people have tons of like information written on here so much that it goes off the slide and it's very annoying, to be honest. You also don't want to have a ton of animations going everywhere, which we'll get to. Okay, so what have you done in class so far? Because the other part of this was to reflect on what you've learned in class. So there are tons of ways to reflect. The easiest way for most people is just to go through each assignment and talk about what is it they learned, how is it helpful to them, or what's not helpful to them, and that's it. So in the technological, tell us about yourself and technological experiences assignment. What did you learn from that? You probably you possibly could have learned like more about, oh, I didn't realize how young I was or how old I was before I did use a certain device, or I didn't realize that technology wasn't just computers and stuff like that. Or I didn't realize how many other people in my class were interested in the same things as me, or they considered their first technological experiences to be the same as mine. Or the most advanced. I was surprised to see that the most advanced or innovative technology based off my classmates was all smartphones. Everyone thinks that's the most advanced one. Da, da, da. So there's different things that you can do there. And the next assignment you did was using Gmail and Canvas. This is, again, this is a template. You don't have to do it this way, but okay, what softwares did you use? Well, you had to use an internet browser. Many people don't realize that is a software. You may have used Gmail, which you did, and open it up unless you already had it connected to something else. So you possibly could have used a different email source or application if you use like Outlook or something. Canvas, right? You had a learning management system. You opened up Microsoft Word. So these are, some of you had never zipped a file before, so you learned how to zip a file and how to unzip a file. You learned what the purpose of it was. So I'm just giving you examples of things you could possibly talk about. But you want to, it's your reflection. You could literally, and this has happened on this assignment particularly, people have said, I got nothing from this assignment because I already knew how to zip a file and unzip a file. I already knew how to send an email. I've already accessed my student email before, and I was familiar with Canvas. And that's it. It was nice and simple reflection. Right, ergonomics. What'd you learn about that? How is it helpful to you in your future career? Green computing, ethics, intellectual property rights, information security. What's your favorite assignment, your least favorite assignment, and why? Yes, go ahead, Chantel.
So we do fill this part out about like what we have learned in the class. So you do want us to do that.
Yes, what you have learned and how is it useful to you in your future career or current career.
So you want us to like, it doesn't matter how we set it, but you want us to include that information in each of those sections?
It doesn't matter how you do it. You don't have to section it out this way. This is just a template as an example. To give you an example of the past, most people took a couple of the being safe with technology reflections or discussions, and they combine them into one slide. I have had students that literally just copied and pasted what their discussion reply was. I do not suggest doing that because if you're presenting, you have a bunch of words on screen that looks kind of funky. So, but I had one student that combined everything in one, and he just talked about how during week 2, we learned about being safe with technology, and these are the different components that we talked about. And then they even went further and said, because of this, I want to see what else would be useful. And so I did my own research, and then this is what I found other things that be useful. So yeah, I really want this to be your own because it's your reflection, and this is something you could actually use in the future for like attached to a resume or something. So that's the purpose of this. But great question of asking, like, do you have to hit every little thing? Because you also do not, because let's say, well, I would prefer if you did, but I have had people say, for instance, like the ethics one, I have had students say that I didn't think this was very helpful at all to me. It wasn't anything new. I can't say that it was helpful or not. It was just kind of there. It's just common sense. And so they told me they didn't include it for that reason. And I was like, okay, that's honestly how you felt, because it's supposed to be your portfolio. It's your reflection. So I don't want to require that every assignment is on there. But if you have nothing, I'm going to be concerned, because if you guys absolutely have nothing or none of the assignments, you talk about nothing that you learned or did in the class, that's going to be a little weird, because you're learning something that's helpful to you, or you're not learning it, or something's being taught that you feel is not helpful. You can talk about either one of those. I'm not looking to be offended or look for praise or anything. This is first and foremost for you all, and then secondly, it helps us look at, okay, how can I tweak the class to be more appealing to the audience, and not just like appealing for praise, but appealing as in you all will receive from it. So, great question. Did that make sense to everyone? Was that unclear to anyone?
So for each of the slides, we talk about what we learned right for that assignment, and then do we talk about how that will relate to our future career?
Yes.
Okay. And then in the notes section, what would be things that we would have to like write down?
That would be.
I'm sorry?
That would be dependent on you.
Okay.
Yeah. Because this would be what you would see when you're presenting.
Okay.
As I showed you guys the different views, the presenter view and then the slideshow view. While you're presenting, you will want to know, like, okay, what should I say here? Maybe there'll be enough information here for you to remember, but you don't want to overfill this. I've seen, but actually the best presentations I've ever seen are no information directly on the slides. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna mute you real quick because it's a little feedback. There we go. Thanks. So the best presentation I've ever seen was just pictures. And I mentioned this to them, how like most of the TED Talks and things like that, they don't have a bunch of stuff up here for them to read off. And the best keynote speakers I've ever met didn't either. They would just use an image that helps them remember everything else, but their notes down here would also help them remember what they need to say. But the image would just be enough, and they would find something impactful enough for the people to like draw them in, and they're like, oh, okay, I understand what they're talking about, or I feel this. So yeah. Did I answer your question?
So I see like the presentation guidelines. It says like at least one image and one animation. Like, what do you mean by that?
So we're gonna talk about animation and transitions in a moment, and how to present too. So another question that someone has is, So are we presenting these? What day will we present them? So your final one, actually, I'm gonna do this. I probably will do this differently. Actually, when I had it up there, I was thinking about this, because usually what I encourage students to do is because I'm gonna show you how to present virtually. So let's say, for instance, and I think I mentioned this in the Monday video, but let's say that you have a presentation to do. You can't make it at all. So what do? You can record it. So there are tons of different ways to record using screencasting software or screen recording software. Like what I told you guys about how I did that video on Monday. But you can actually record directly through PowerPoint. So I'm going to show you that and how you can save that as a .mov file, or as a movie file, video file, so that you can then send that, or you can still send a presentation. The recording will still be a part of it, and you can play through. So I'll show you both of those examples, and I prefer that because then we don't have to try to look for time in order to present. Can I go over the rubric? So another question was asked, can I go over what the rubric means? Yes, I can. And I want to do that towards the end, once we kind of go over each of the other things like transition, animations, and how to record yourself. So remind me if I don't. Please remind me, because I don't want that to be lost. So make sure you guys remind me about what the rubric means. All right, answering what that means. All right. Any other questions about like what needs to kind of go in here, or how or examples of what you should do in here? Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about transitions and animation. So first, I'll start with the theme. So if you were to go since we're on the insert tab, you can insert pictures, online pictures. Make sure you look to see if it is Creative Commons. If you use if you use a Microsoft Office application to insert a picture from online, what will actually happen? I've been doing a lot of Yu Yu Hakusho, so I'm gonna show. I think I spelled that wrong. No, I didn't. Good. All right. So when you do that, what will happen is you'll get a Creative Commons only. It'll automatically only give results that are Creative Commons license, and they'll automatically have the information attached to them in regards to their licensing. So you don't have to worry about trying to find it and like citing it. It'll already be a part of the whole package, even electronically. So, and so I could go through here and say, okay, what do I want to pick? And okay, I'm going to pick this one here, and I can pick multiple ones if I want, and then insert them. Okay, cool. And then I'm good to go. It has everything already attached. And you can even notice there, I'll shrink it so you guys can see. Oops. I inserted in the wrong spot. Yes, I did. Oh. Trying to make that bigger. Okay. Oops. It went way too big. Oops. Too far down. Come on. So at the bottom here, you see how it says this photo is photo by unknown author is licensed under CC BY. Oh, sorry, clicking crazily. Go back here. This photo is by unknown author is licensed by CC BY SA. So by distribution share alike. So all this information is already here together. I don't have to worry about going to research it or finding it. So this will make it easier for you if you're inserting anything. All right. So let's look at the design though. So that was insert. I was saying to use online picture. Yes.
We still have to create a works cited page if it already has like a citation in that like link.
Nope, you do not. That's a great question, because it's already all inclusive. It even has a digital version of it, which is much harder to even do. So it's the best type of citation you can have. Right. So next is the design tab here. And under the design tab, this is where you can change your themes and also change some background. Maybe if you want the background to be an image or something. Your theme will automatically be set to the office theme, which is a standard one here. Or actually, no, I forgot to say simple light theme, which is the same as the office theme. Just has different colors. There's the office theme. You can pick whatever you want. Just make sure you know it's appropriate. It may be something nice and fun for you. See if this is going to connect to me. Oh, it's not connecting. Okay. So you could download some themes from online if you want to as well. If you just search for some, there's plenty everywhere. If you click this more button here, you can see all of them at once. That's what I did earlier. Yeah, see right here, I have it disabled right now, so I have to enable that so I can upload some new ones. And then variants. So let me click on something that isn't pre-made. And so the variants allow you to kind of change it'll be the same theme overall, but you can get different colors. And then you also directly here, you can change to these different color styles. And then you can also change the fonts that appear on the pages here. Of course, you can change the font directly on something, but this will keep the overall fonts the same if you don't go in and keep changing each one in the home tab. You can add some other effects too and different background styles here. You can do your slide style to be widescreen or standard. Most people always use widescreen now for everything. You probably have realized that when you watch YouTube now. It pretty much automatically goes to that. I don't even think there's a choice anymore. And most screens are widescreen now, so it wouldn't really make much difference to go the other way. But you can decide to change it and formatting the background here. So that'll bring up a format background pane, and this is where it's a solid fill, means it's solid all the way. Gradient, then the color will change like slightly. It'll see how it's getting darker greenish there, and then up here it's lighter greenish there. If you wanted to, you could even do a picture or text file or texture fill. So the textures are like weird patterns, look like weaved out and stuff like this. It's like wood and things. You could add that in there. A picture could be the whole background if you want to. And if it is, you could have the picture tiled, meaning that it would be multiple versions of that, but just tiled all over your screen. Or you could have it be one whole one and tell where it goes. So I want you guys to just really like get into this and have fun. And once you get the basics of what you need your assignment to be, like the information on there that you want to have, and then the transitions and animations, then go ahead and play with it and then present it. So that's how you would change the theme and add some style changes. Transitions. So let's look at what a transition is. I'm gonna go to a different slide. I'll make it easier. So what a transition is how do you change from one slide to the next? So how do you transition from one slide to the next? And you all are probably seeing the standard, like, nothing happens. You've probably also seen many of these occur, but you didn't even realize they were happening. So there's a morph, and we should get a little preview. Okay, cool. Okay. So we get a little preview of what happened there. I'll do it again because I think that pop-up kind of did it. But so yeah, it kind of changes, fading in, push it, wipe it, splitting, and there are tons of other different ones as well. Up to you how you do that. Some people use the same transition on every slide because it gets the same. Some people get real funky with it, like there's like an origami type one. It'll like turn into a paper airplane. A lot of people like to do stuff like that, and they'll usually do it. There's origami, but there's an airplane one. There's an origami one too. But they all usually do that when it's like, oh, something really exciting, and we're about to take off now to the next thing. Have fun with it. Don't get too crazy. If you get too crazy, then it can take away from the presentation. Effects. So depending on which transition you select, you will have different effects available. So just shape. So that was a circle one. I can do a diamond, or I can have it go inward. Can change it up. Duration is another big tool that will be helpful to you, especially when you're recording. You want to get the timing down right. Most of the time, people just have things advanced. Have this slide advanced forward based off the mouse click. So when you click on the slide, it'll move over to the next one. you can have it advance automatically here from one slide to next. So say if I wanted to I want to advance the slide after a certain number of seconds. So see, after 2 seconds, I'm gonna take that off there. Just gonna, you guys can see what happens. So it automatically went to the next one. I didn't have to click; it went automatically after just 2 seconds. So again, something that can be useful to you, especially when you're recording or if you're timing yourself, or if you need it to be timed. Some people use that like, I'm gonna ask you guys a quiz real quick. What don't you think about this? This way, when it goes to the next slide automatically, you don't have to worry about timing yourself like with the watch or anything. You can just use this to do so. And you can have it apply to multiple slides if you want to as well from here. You can also delay how long it takes for it to transition. So do that. You guys can see it again. So it took a lot longer for it to do the shape.
To add like an animation for each slide.
You don't have to add an animation for each slide. So the transition is also different from animation. So we're going to talk about animation actually like almost right now. Just like one more little thing with transitions. But you don't have to have a transition for every slide. The guidelines say for at least one transition. Because I just want you all to know how to do it. If you have it on every slide, it would make most sense for it to pretty much always be the same type of transition. Again, some people get real crazy with like it flying over everywhere. Oh, I did a paper airplane. Now I did a shape. Now I did random bars. Now I split it. Now I made it be origami and fly off the page. And oh, now I made it come back and then go out again. Like all these different things. And it gets really, to me, it gets very annoying and it takes away from a presentation. So, but it all depends, on the type of presentation you're doing. So for this assignment, you could do the first one, have it transition from like your title screen. Sorry guys, I'm gonna delete Yaksha. But you can have it transition from your title screen to the next one, and then that's it. And then the rest of them have none. You could do that, and that would be completely fine. The purpose of this again is just so that you all do know how to use a transition, and I can prove that you know how to use one. You can add sounds to it as well. So like at the end, a lot of people do this at the end of theirs. Once they're done, they'll have a blank slide or make it fade to black, and then applause will happen. So it's like, hey guys, finished! Yay! Yeah, everyone else should clap for me too. And you can upload sounds and have it loop too. So that's that's what you can do with a transition. So again, do the minimum of what you need to for your presentation, and then go in and start adding these things. Because that way you can have fun with it and you can see what really works for you. All right, so animations. So transitions were for the entire slide, and animation is for elements on a slide. So for instance, I'm gonna go to this one because it has a couple of different elements. I select the element by either clicking with the insertion point, or notice how I have the arrows that you normally would see for moving. You have the cross that goes in each of the cardinal directions. If I were to do that, that will also select the element on the slide. And then I can give it its own animation, so how it moves. And so again, tons of different ones. So look at this entrance, emphasis. What happens when you leave? You can add multiple animations on each one of these two, on each element. Again, don't get too crazy with this. The assignment just says for one, and there is a rule. It's not a, I shouldn't say a rule. There's an understanding that animations in a PowerPoint presentation suck unless you're young or you're doing it for very young people, because they take away from the presentation again. So you want to play around with this. But let's look here. So maybe I'll do appear, appear, and then add animation, do appear, and animation. Where's that? There's disappear. Okay. And so what I just did was I added multiple animations on it. But at this point in time, I may not remember. Let's just say I have no idea what I clicked so far. So what I can do is, with this selected, I'm going to open up what's known as the Animation Pane. This allows me to see what did I have it do. So I see here, I say on click entrance, it needs to appear. Then it says on click exit, it needs to disappear. Oh, it's there twice. That wouldn't really make much sense. So I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to delete it. So now I have my two. At the bottom here, you even see how many seconds are allotted between them, and you can make changes there. So I could do this here, and there was a 2-second delay there to go to the next one. And so I could add time in between these if I wanted to, so that it would take longer. So like here, making sure it starts on click and not directly after the previous, and change the timing and things here. So that's what you can do with animation. You just select whatever items you need to, or each item on the slide that you want to have a certain animation, and then you just select the animation you have for it. It also has effect options, so you can have it change in between, and you can decide again how that happens and when it happens, as we did before. So starting on the click, be previous or after. So at the same time as the other one above it does, or after the other one finishes. You can add duration. Most of the time for the animations, especially just the clicks. And the thing about that is, I'm going to show you guys here. And I'm going to swap my settings so you can see what I'm talking about. So notice we're on slide 4 now. But look what it says, next animation now. So when I click, the next animation is going to appear. Then it says, hey, when next time you click or you go to the next thing that happens, it's going to disappear. This is what I was talking about, where it gives you a preview of what's going to happen next, not just what next slide is going to come up, but literally everything that's going to happen as you sequence through the PowerPoint. That's why it's really good to, really cool to understand how the presenter view works and to use it to its full potential, because this can let you know, like, okay, I need to click again to get to this next thing here. Because a lot of times people forget what order do things come, or oh, I forgot to add that animation. Oh, I forgot that transition was there and it was that slow. So back. Okay.
Review to get that to know the display, or where do you go to do that, like to know the display of what you chose?
Can you say that again?
You know how you just had to set it up, showing us what it tells you on the right hand side of the screen? How do we get to that? Like, where do we click for it?
Oh, yes. So to do that will happen whenever you do your slide. So whenever you do your slideshow, that will appear for you on the other screen. And so you can change which screen it appears on by doing display settings. So that's what I did. Does that answer your question? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So this will only appear when you go into slideshow view. Yeah. And what appears on that will be things like here, like the notes, and then the order in which animations and transitions occur. Which you can dictate how the order of animations using that animation pane that I showed too, and you can just reorder them, delete them, add stuff. Okay. So one last thing that I really want to make sure we go over today. Oh, I have 8 minutes left. I didn't realize that. Sorry, y'all. So the last thing here is recording your slideshow. So you'll notice in the slideshow tab, a couple things we can do here from the beginning, current slide. Present online is another service that's available to you. So you can do it directly in a web browser. People have started doing that too. and they record their web browser from there. That's also available. But Rehearse Timings allows you to time what happens in each slide, and it'll actually record that. And it'll keep that timing. And so you could literally play it, and you can have it automatically go through that completely. So let's say if I did Rehearse Timings now on this first slide, and I talk, and I talk, and I talk. Notice it says recording up the top. And stop. Let's save that timing. I want to present. Let's make sure it goes for those 12 seconds. So if you notice it moved after that 12 seconds, which was how long my recording was, automatically. That's because once I rehearsed it, it recorded it. And then here I'm saying use timings. So whatever timings I've saved to that slide, it's going to automatically move. That can be good and that can be bad. But for when you're recording, if you've like practiced it enough, you have your reading of your notes down and stuff, that can be very helpful. And it can help you stay under that 10-minute mark. Again, that's just a soft requirement. You guys, I've had someone do one up to 30 minutes, and when that happens, I will watch flight maybe the first 10 minutes, and then I will pause it and go do other things, and then come back later. Just, it is what it is. Unless it's like really, really interesting. So the other thing that you can do is you can just record directly right here. And so I wanted you all to be able to see this. If I can switch, okay, it's not gonna let me switch over. But here's my presentation here. On my other screen, literally I see my slides in a different format than presenter view. Let's see. I want you all to see this. So I'm gonna see if I can. There we go. Okay, cool. So as you all can see, looks a little different from what we had beforehand. Try to get my little screen away. There we go. And here are my notes. They're up here for me to see. And depending on your size of your screen, this will actually look a lot better. But that's not what's being shown to the public. What's being shown to the public and what's being recorded is your slideshow. But what I can do now is if I want to, I can record. Hello and welcome to CIS105. Woo, CIS105 is great. Yeah. This is my ePortfolio presentation, and I'm going to stop talking. There we go. I'm going to replay it. So as you can hear, you could actually hear everything I said, and you can record it for each slide too. So yeah. And that way you don't have to worry about, did I say the right thing for that? I can't remember. Or you also don't have to go all the way through. Another thing is, let's see if I can get this. See, I'm in the bottom corner now. So that's another way that's how you can have yourself be on the screen. I actually found out recently that a couple of different instructors have been asking their students to do their presentations, and it's mandatory that your face is on the screen at all times. And students didn't know how to do it with PowerPoint. So they've been trying to download all these different softwares and things like that. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. Go to record in PowerPoint. Go in your PowerPoint, go to slideshow, go to record slideshow. You can add your face in the bottom corner if you want to. Works just fine. You can even do it as an image. I think if you have it saved in. Yeah, I don't have it saved on mine, but yeah, and that's it. So I can clear my recordings too. I'm gonna keep mine though, just because it's an example for you all. You can set up what camera you're using, what microphone as well, just like you can with WebEx. Let me close this now because I'm done recording that. And I'm gonna go back to sharing my other screen. There we go. So And then this is how you would use those narrations that you had, the ones that we just recorded, that background. There are other ways to record background if I really want to. Yeah, I can go to insert. I can do a screen recording to be specifically for the slide that I'm currently on, which, as you saw, record slideshow will do that period, but it allows you to do it for all of them. You can do them all at once, or you can even do them separately for it to be on each one. Or you can insert audio directly. Same way, I could record myself saying something and attach it to a slide. So go back to, because I still have 2 minutes. That should be enough time to go through the rubric here. So the rubric, once as usual, has those different competencies and student learning outcomes involved. So explain the role of computers in business and society. This is the student learning outcome that you want to achieve. How would you achieve that in this assignment? Well, you could explain how you would use computers within your future career. Using the internet to communicate, collaborate, and retrieve information. You're going to cite your sources where you got your information about your career paths. If you got images, like I said, if you use the Creative Commons ones, they'll be there. Do you want us to record a slideshow, or can you just send it? Yes to both. You're going to send it. There should be a recording on it. Otherwise, you would have to present to me, and that can be very conflicting with schedules because we won't have time in class to do so. For the final portfolio, we will have time to do so, and that will be a different challenge, which we'll talk about when we get. I'll tell you now. I don't want to hold it back. So, for the final e-portfolio presentations, if you do not record yourself doing it, what will happen is I will put your names in a some kind of randomizer for those that did not record themselves doing it, and I will pull a name and you will randomly present someone else's presentation. It's a good exercise. It's a practice because it's something that is very useful because you never know in the future when you're doing presentations, like, or someone else is doing and they're sick or something happens and you have to go do the presentation now. You don't get time really to see it and you're just on the spot have to do it. So it's a good training tool. So that's how I do the final presentations if you don't record yourself doing it. So I would practice recording myself now where it won't hurt as much point wise or hurt at all, honestly. Explore security systems and privacy issues. Well, we talked about it with information security, right? So appropriate technologies. So selecting appropriate technologies. So you're discussing what type of technology you need for your future careers, how they could be selected. You can even do some green computing in that. Terminology. So using the correct terminology, ethics, social and ethic behavior. Business technology, same thing as I said before. In your own career path, how are you going to use how is technology used within your career path? And then using Office Suite application, the common uses. So you're using PowerPoint. That one's pretty much done as long as you turn in a PowerPoint presentation. And the same thing here. Use presentation software. Okay. Your career information is worth 10 points. Adding a theme and changing style is worth 5 points. Adding at least one image worth 5 points. Having at least one transition worth 5 points. Having at least one animation worth 5 points. Accurate spelling and grammar citations, that's worth 5 points in total. I give you 2.5 for the spelling and grammar, and then 2.5 for the spelling check. I said you could use this down here to do so you can just click on that, and it'll give you that. You could also do review and click spelling here, and that will do that. And your reflections are worth 10 points, and it says presentation here worth 10 points. If you don't have a I'm going to tell you this now, just be honest. If you do not have a presentation with this, I encourage you to do so because it'll be great practice for you, especially as you continue to add to this, hopefully each week, because your final one will have to have a presentation a part of it. If you don't do a presentation, say it again.
Where do we put this reflection? Do we make a page for that? Like, I'm confused.
No, those the reflections that I mentioned. Like, you're reflecting on how this assignment helped you or doesn't help you. You're reflecting on how this one helps you or doesn't help you. Does that make sense?
And we don't have to have a citation page because the images already have that, correct? If we use it.
Yes, if you're using the Creative Commons for the image, you do not need to cite it. If you are getting information from online, though, about like your career, you will want to cite that. Okay. but that's that CC license. If you do it that way for the images, that will count for your site. Yeah, but if you and for this one, if you don't do presentation, like actually like recording yourself, I will add that 10 points to the reflections. Okay. So I went 2 minutes over. I am very sorry about that. Your time is precious. I know some of you have other classes directly after this, so or some of you have work too. So I apologize. But for those of you that are still here, are there any questions? I'm still here. So are there any questions at all about this assignment?
It's Friday.
The due date on it is Friday. Again, that is for just to help you guys not do this out of sense of urgency, at like the last minute. But if you have it in by Sunday, that's fine too. Okay. Yeah, don't feel super rushed on this. Don't feel like 2 days isn't enough time. I want you guys to do your best, but don't feel like you have to go overboard. Yeah. You know, honestly, I'll go ahead and just change it to Sunday. It feels like some of you all may be a little nervous about 2 days, so I'll just change it to Sunday so that we don't have any issues. Okay, how's that sound, everyone? We change the due date to Sunday.
Sounds good.
All right, do that right now. All right. Okay, so any questions?
I do. This may sound dumb, but how do we turn it in?
So just like the last assignment you did this was like using Gmail and Canvas assignment. When you go to this page, in Canvas, you'll see a big blue button that says Submit Assignment, and you click there, and then you just upload PowerPoint presentation if you're using that, or you upload if you actually save it as an actual MP4 file or a movie file or something, you can upload that. Or if you did a website instead, you can upload that. But that's what you'll do. You'll just upload your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, big blue button. They'll say Submit Assignment. I can't get in this. Couldn't get in the student view at one point in this class. I remember that. See if I can get to it now. So I can show you. That looks like. Okay. Yeah, that one's stuck right now. I'm just gonna go to this to show you. Oops, wrong one. Show you an example. So it'll say something like this at the top. It'll say submit assignment on the top of that initial portfolio page. That's all you'll do. And when you do so, you'll have the option to upload it. All right. Any other questions? Anyone?
So we don't necessarily have to zip our PowerPoint, or do you want us to?
That honestly, there's a limit on how much you can submit or how much you can upload. It will literally depend on your file. I have had people have to do that before. So if it doesn't allow you to upload it, you'll want to go to try to submit it or zip it. Or if you have multiple pieces with it, you'll want to do that as well. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's Martin. I was trying to get into the WebEx and I hit the on the left side the Cisco WebEx like thing like before class, and it wasn't working for some reason. So I had to like manually do it and join your room. I think via the syllabus. It was acting up for me, and I restarted my computer and stuff. But like I don't know what's up with it. I just wanted to give you a heads up.
No, yeah, I appreciate that. I personally, I suggest just using the link directly that I've given y'all. You could even, that way you can bookmark it and you don't have to even worry about ever logging it directly into Canvas and do so. And my reason for suggesting that is because if you do Cisco WebEx here, then that means if you want to do anything else, you're gonna have to click off to it. Like, oh, I want to go see this time myself. You're gonna have to click off on it in order to do so. So if you were to do it via the link, you don't have to worry about that. You can keep both open at the same time. So,
Okay.
yeah,
I see. Thanks.
yeah. And actually, you know, I think you bring up a good point. I'm gonna just remove this here, so that way you guys don't even be tempted to do that. That way you can just use the link. Yeah, thanks for saying that. Because that, and if we're having issues with it too, I'd rather us just go straight to what's working. For instance, I actually had trouble getting into WebEx actually this morning too. It kept kicking me out of my meetings. As soon as I click start, it would just shut it down. So, if stuff like that ever happens, if you know, I think I've mentioned this before. If you notice, like, okay, he's late, like if I'm actually late, call. Then who knows? I could be dead. Because I'm not a late person to get to class. So, call. But most of the time, I'll probably, if I can't get on, what I'm doing is I'm setting up a Zoom meeting instead and sending you guys a link. I haven't had to do that yet. Hope not to have to do that at all this semester. But just if that ever happens, that's what we'll do, guys. So, yeah. All right. Other questions?
For the grades, are our grades only on Canvas, or do we go like on a separate website like Synergy, Student View, like how
No,
does it work?
you'll just go on Canvas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Other questions? Okay. All right. Seems like everyone's good to go. In that case, I will see you all on Monday. You have a great weekend. Make this assignment fun for yourself. Don't get too worked up over it. Just get the minimum that you need there, and then go have fun changing things up. Okay. Have lots of fun with it before you do your recordings of your presentations. And I do again suggest doing that so that we get practice doing so, because it'll help you with your other classes as well. So, all right. I will see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Bye. Have a good one, Professor.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.
Bye.
Guys.
Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Alexa. Yep. Hey, Stephanie. You have any questions?
I'm trying to like
Can you say that again? Oh, you're leaving. Oh, okay, bye.